Yang.
Hello, nerds!
Hello, nerds!
Hello, nerds!
Hello, nerds! Hello, nerds!
Hello, nerds!
Hello, nerds! I have to be a little quiet because the kids are sleeping and I don't want to be waking them up, but I want to welcome John Perino to the show. Welcome, John.
Hello, nerds!
I love it, my friend. I think, read my lips, it looks like he logged in and left, so I'm going to remove him from the screen for the moment. If I see him activate, we will get him back on. There's all kinds of mechanical devices. So we're here because we are announcing the Secure the Yang #3 challenge. Oh, we got Mindwave Podcast in the house. What's up, Jenner?
How's it going, guys?
Hello, nerds.
Welcome.
All right.
This has been a while coming. I've been trying to get in touch with you guys for a while. Just been crazy, hectic, because I'm a huge nerd. So,
well, you've come to the right place, my friend. So we're here to announce our new Nerd Alliance. And there's actually going to be 12 of us who I will announce shortly. And each of us 12 are going to get our own fundraising ActBlue link. And we will all go out and sort of do our best to get other people to pitch in, to donate to the campaign. And then if all of us collectively get to 50K this month, then we will get Andrew on for a third interview. And that third interview will be conducted by a nerd panel. And the nerd panel will be the two people whose links raised the most money, and then the third nerd who raised $500 or more, but it then is randomly selected from the remaining 10 people. So everybody has a 10% chance as long as you raise $500 or more. And then if you raise the top two, you guaranteed a panel. And then even if you're not on the panel, the other members of the team will be able to submit questions, and we'll make sure we get some shout outs to everybody who participated. We'll do a weekly leaderboard. I'll promote everybody on this channel, and hopefully we'll all just help each other out, because at the end of the day, it's not really a competition as much as all of us just trying to help Andrew have an upset in Iowa, because we're not getting any help from the media. So we're going to have to do it ourselves. What do you guys think?
I dig it. I keep saying we're the media now. You know, if we don't like how the media is treating Andrew, let's make the content that we want to see. So I'm all about that, man. I'm about to get deep back into our Humanity First series again. I've been on a little hiatus.
Oh, well, welcome. We're looking forward to getting you back in the groove, my friend. So since we've got you guys on, before I go over the other members of the Secure the Yang team, why don't each of you guys just give a little intro to who you are and why you decided to get involved, and just so people can get to know you. John, you want to go first?
Sure, I'll go first. Well, just briefly, I mean, I've never really been involved or interested in politics that much. But I mean, how I came on to Andrew Yang is a lot like how many people have through the Joe Rogan podcast. Even then I really wouldn't have come across him if Joe Rogan had entitled his podcast Presidential Candidate Andrew Yang. I just not interested really, but Joe usually has a lot of interesting guests, and just said Andrew Yang. Okay, I click on it. And about 4 minutes into it, he really had my attention, and I stayed for the whole interview. And like that, he got me. That interview, that's all it took.
And how did you, John, how did you decide to go from being a supporter of Andrew to then trying to raise money for him through this challenge?
Yeah, it's just really frustrating to see how he's just been ignored by the mainstream media. I mean, it's like they're not throwing him a bone whatsoever. It seems like. I understand to some extent why that's the case. But at this point in the game, I mean, I think he's proven himself that he's a serious contender, and they really need to get on board. And so, I mean, if they're not going to step up, I mean, I guess it's up to us. Somebody's got to do it. Somebody's, get the word out there. And I really think if he raises even more money than he did last quarter, the mainstream media will have just no choice but to cover him, give him more coverage.
I agree. Although I will tell you, I thought when we hit the 10 million, that was kind of like a we've arrived number. And those mofos did not, it felt like they covered him less. It's like, what do you need to see? I mean, that's why when I read the article about Elizabeth Warren spending like 27 grand to run her first TV ad in Iowa, I was like, you know what? Like, if she even needs to run ads, get him all the free coverage she's getting, then we definitely need to run some damn ads because while we are kicking butt in YouTube and Twitter, like that's still, there's a lot of people who don't use those products that vote.
Yeah, for better or worse, it seems like ads work. I mean, they don't work on me. I rarely watch an ad, but they work for most people, I guess. Yeah,
I think the term is low information voters who don't do a lot of research, but just kind of, and maybe or they're actually a high information voter. They never considered Yang. They see the ad, and then they go on YouTube and find the Rogan interview, and la-di-da, we're good to go.
Yeah.
So, I think I see Read My Lips has joined us. So let's see. Let me see if I can add him in here. Oh man, it's a nerd party right here, baby.
How's it going, guys?
Read My Lips. What's your regular first name?
Ronnie.
Ronnie. All right.
Yes. Yep.
So Ronnie, we're just doing some quick introductions, and and John, we're gonna wrap up with John's intro, and then we'll go to Jenner, and then bump on to you, Ronnie.
Okay.
So John, where are you calling us from?
So I'm out in the suburbs of Chicago, Illinois. I've lived here pretty much my whole life, and I did spend 3 years in Louisiana when I was younger in high school.
All right,
that's pretty much the extent of my travels. Although I have traveled outside the country just for pleasure every now and again.
Good Midwestern nerd representation. Appreciate it, my friend. All right, Jenner, where are you? You're like in a home studio. You got a nice setup over there.
Kind of. I haven't got the green screen and the lighting shit figured out yet. Oh, sorry. Can I? My bad.
Yeah, that's good. We're not monetizing.
I'm a sweary bear. My bad. I should have asked. No, but yeah, I am in Bisbee, Arizona now. I'm from San Diego originally. Longtime nerd, longtime science communicator online, and I started up this podcast a few months back to just kind of get into the stuff that I want to talk about, because it's a lot of it's kind of obscure, or it's just like super nerdy, and I want to bring it like mainstream. You know, I feel like average people should know the names of spacecraft that are flying around the solar system, for example. So I've just been getting into my areas of interest, and that Andrew Yang happens to be a really big one. I was like 5 minutes into it was actually Sam Harris, the first interview that I saw with him, which was, I think, a few months before Rogan, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, it was like 10 minutes into that. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm all on board. So we just started grabbing from the Yang Gang. I'm like, hey, come on, let's talk about him. And that evolved in this Humanity First series where we're doing the long form kind of Rogan style conversations with people in the Yang Gang, and then collecting voicemails and doing lots of other little fun things along those lines. But yeah.
Well, welcome to the team, Jenner. Do you have like a phone on that has vibration? So someone's got a phone that's vibrating on the table nearby?
That is not me.
All right, all good. All good. Yeah. Those random vibrators all over the place. All right. So welcome, Jenner. And Ronnie, where are you calling from, my friend?
Connecticut.
Oh, New England. Love it. So tell us your story. How did you first come across Andrew? What do you do? And then why did you decide to join the Secure the Yang team?
Well, I started my channel about 3 months ago, and it wasn't about Andrew Yang in particular. It was just about news and politics. And I was influenced by people like Kyle Kalinske and other people like that. And I was actually a Bernie supporter. I supported him in 2016, and I supported him for a while this run. And I did a video that for my channel did pretty big numbers for my channel at the time. I did about 13,000 views. It was Andrew Yang converts Republican. And it ended up being that the person that I did the video on was Russell from Grassroots Yang Gang. I didn't know who he was at the time. And so, the video did its numbers, and people were like, that's Russell. You got to talk to that guy. So I did an interview. I did an interview with Russell one-on-one, and he actually pushed me over the edge to support Andrew Yang. And I really looked into what he was about and what he brought forth, and I got on board with UBI and his version of Medicare for All. And since then, I dedicated my channel to supporting Yang and helping him become the next POTUS.
I love it. And then why did you decide to get involved with this fundraising effort?
It was all through my comment section. It was like, man, you should really look at this. If you want to help support Yang, you should really look at this. Look what Nerds for Yang are doing. And so I finally decided to click on one of the links, and there it was. And I said, you know what, I'm going to go through with this. I'm going to do what I can do in my part to help Andrew Yang become the next POTUS.
Right on. I think it's awesome that after we did the second interview with Andrew, the contact at the campaign said to me, like, hey, these have gone really well. Do you want to do another one? And I was like, well, of course. And but then the campaign said, is there a way that we can involve other creators and other volunteers so that we can kind of open it up? And I was like, yeah, that's a great idea. Number one, we can all kind of join forces to raise money. And then number two, a bunch of us can interview them together. And it might even be like a different dynamic. Like even the four of us talking, it's a very different dynamic than any of us kind of one-on-one. So, so that's why today we officially are going to launch the challenge. And I just wanted to take a minute to go over some of the other people who are participating. So there's going to be a total of 12 of us. And so I think the easiest way I'm going to do that is I'm just going to share my screen and show you guys the list. Give me 1 second. Share screen. Chrome. Boom. Share. Okay. So there are, as you can see, let me make this a little bigger. 12 of us. So there's myself, Tom from Nerds for Yang. There's Yang Gang Media. There's Marcus Johnson. Marcus posts a lot of memes and stuff on the Nerds for Yang Facebook page. There's Kai. Kai does a lot of great campaign updates. There's Mindwave, already with us. Yang Gang Info. Paget is joining the effort. Campaign Trail, Nathaniel Stowe, Read My Lips. That's old Ronnie. John, you're a really interesting guy because we have in the form, it was like, hey, list the link to your Yang Gang content. And you're like, hey man, I'm just like an individual doing my best.
Yeah.
I was like, that's super cool. That's awesome. And then Hustle and Film is another channel. So those are the 12, and they're actually linked in the description below. And everybody has their own link. So you can, if you're watching this and you want to give to Andrew Yang and you want to help him have a a record fourth quarter, there's a few options you can do. You can give directly to the campaign. Just go to yang2020.com, and that's fine. That's totally, they'll be glad to receive and, you know, accept your donation. Or you can give through any of those 12 links, and 100% goes to the campaign. The only difference is we track how much is given, and then that allows us to see how close to our 50K goal we as a team have gotten. It also lets us, you know, do some fun gamification between the 12 of us and yada, yada. And then when you give money through any of these links, you're kind of killing two birds with one stone, because you help Andrew directly, but then you also help us get him for an interview, and we can create some cool content, and then we can all use it on our respective channels, and everybody wins. So it's kind of two for the price of one in many ways. So that's kind of where we're at. Before we wrap up, because I know this is a quick announcement, since this is a Nerds for Yang live stream, we should probably look at some data. So let me pull up some of the latest polls, and then we can just kind of eyeball it together and see if we have any opinions here. Hold on one second. Let me share my screen. Chrome. Okay, so the latest polls that came out today. Nevada, Nevada were 5, tied with Buttigieg. How do you like them apples?
Nice.
You guys see this? I'll take that, tied with Harris and Buttigieg. Not too shabby. Michigan, okay, Michigan so-so. 2 behind Booker and Harris. Tejas 4 ahead of Castro. Ahead of Klobuchar and Booker in Texas, and not too far behind Buttigieg, and only 1 point off of Harris. I mean, you got to feel like Harris is not going in the right direction. So that was Monday polls. Let me see if we go back to Sunday, if there were any released on Sunday. And then Sunday, we've got the, let me just make that a little bigger. Sunday, we had the NBC, National 3, ABC 2, Fox 3. You know, it's interesting. We used to do better in national polls than statewide polls. But if you look at Nevada, and then if you guys remember New Hampshire, we came in at 5. It's kind of interesting. We're starting to do better in statewide polls, which I would prefer, because you don't have a statewide primary. You know, it's Iowa, New Hampshire, South Carolina. What are your guys' thoughts? Are you surprised at where we are? And what is your prediction about Harris? I'm thinking after New Hampshire, she's going bye-bye. Anybody have any thoughts?
Yeah, I'm hoping and thinking maybe she'll drop out sooner.
Oh, like right after Iowa, maybe.
Yeah.
If she has a really poor showing.
Yeah, I think she just closed campaign offices, right?
In New Hampshire. Yeah, to consolidate around Iowa. So Iowa's like kind of her last stand. Ronnie, what do you think?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's going downtown.
I think it's pretty much over for her.
Yeah. So then it'll be, you know what's surprising is Klobuchar kind of came out of nowhere. Like, I thought she was pretty much done. And then I guess that last debate, she kind of got another jolt of life.
It gave her a small spark, her and on the offensive, when they went after Warren. And it gave them a little bit of life, a small but that's going to fade as well. It's not very sustainable.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of feel like this is the last gasp from Klobuchar. But on the other hand, I wouldn't be surprised if their supporters were saying similar things about our campaign. I mean, how do you guys feel about the campaign? Do you feel like this is our do or die moment? What are you guys thinking?
I think polls are nonsense, and we should not pay too much attention to them because they're notoriously just, it's kind of like GDP, not a great measurement of actual success. If you've been to a Yang rally, or you've seen Yang rallies, you've seen the people online, like people were going about this, they were challenging Andrew's claim to be polling well among Trump supporters, and they, oh, you know, it was only 2, and they were like, that's not a real thing. And I'm like, on the ground, the reality is very clear. So I think there's a disconnect there between the reality on the ground and what the polls are actually showing. I think, and I've thought this since the beginning, that like at the end of the day, nobody else is going to be able to compete. Nobody else is going to be able to compete on the issues that Andrew's now made central to the campaign. He made automation like a major issue for the last debate. And it was just completely absent from the public conversation before. So, and there's this whole impeachment thing. So everybody who's running, who's currently in Congress, there's a good chance that they're going to have to step away from their campaigns entirely and go fulfill their constitutional duty, you know, to hold the, you know, the hearings and stuff in the Senate. So it is all up in the air, man. We have no idea where it's going to go, but I've been feeling like they're going to just start one by one, just dropping like flies. Beto dropped the other day. That was not surprising.
Maybe Castro will be next too.
Yeah. I'm feeling that one. You know, I don't know. There's some controversy around Tulsi. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with her. She's kind of getting dragged into this whole Russia-Hillary conspiracy thing with, you know, Biden, Ukraine, that whole, you know, crazy conspiracy circle to what's happening. So it's, yeah.
The interesting thing about Tulsi is that Hillary attacking Tulsi kind of gave Tulsi a lot of exposure and mentions. And maybe you could say like, well, that's like the worst kind of mention you want. But if you believe that the polls are at least directionally right, it seems like that attention has helped Tulsi get more awareness.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And with that comes, you know, more scrutiny and stuff, more. All that.
What are you thinking, Ronnie? Did you want to get up in there?
Yeah. The Hillary claiming that whole Russian controversy that Hillary just spat out definitely helped her out. It was funny. I covered Andrew Yang when he was on Hot 97, and even he said, like, you gotta have some sort of evidence. You just can't blurt something like that out just all sporadically. Yeah. That was just so weird.
Random.
And you know, she said the same thing about Stein. She said the same thing. Obviously, she said the same thing about Trump. So it definitely helped Tulsi out. I think Julian Castro, as far as, you know, who's dropping out next, he is probably going to be out. I wouldn't be surprised if you saw a Booker and a Klobuchar next. I don't know which one of the two are going to go first. Maybe Cory Booker, but they're definitely going to be gone too. And what Gang has to do, or us as Yang Gang has to do, is make the most out of these opportunities, because now the Beto supporters, they're sort of open, you know, and they're stuck in a limbo. The guys we're going is no longer. So if we can convince them to come over to the Yang Gang, that's just even better. Just fortify the gang, right?
Yeah, I would love to collect a bunch of Beto and Castro people. I have a feeling their supporters might be open to Yang, because they obviously did not back one of the usual suspect characters, right? So,
exactly.
You know, yeah. Let me show you guys one last thing. I couldn't help myself. I know, Jenner, you're suspicious of polls. I get you. I'm not gonna say it's not gospel, but let's just look at it because it'll be interesting. Hold on one second. This is a polling of head-to-head matchups between Trump and one of the three usual suspect DNC candidates in key states. Now, what you'll notice is that Warren does not do well against Trump, loses to Trump in Michigan, She ties him in Pennsylvania and Wisconsin, loses the great state of Florida, loses North Carolina. Sanders wins 3, loses 3. Biden actually surprisingly does the best against Trump. Unfortunately, they did not do Trump versus Yang, although that would be super cool to see. But my takeaway is that Warren, I know people, obviously, based on the polls and the crowds and everything, they love Warren. But I feel like a vote for Warren is like is Trump's dream come true. What do you guys think?
Oh yeah, I think so too.
I don't think I don't think she'd fare too well against Trump. He's an anomaly, man. He can literally say anything. He's really good off the cuff, and he really knows how to play to a crowd. All things Warren is not the strongest in. And I mean, his base are going to come out in droves and vote for him. That if you don't think they're going to come out, they're absolutely going to come out. And what makes Yang in particular so interesting is he's got that 10% Republican crossover. People will come out and vote for Yang if and when he gets past the primaries. He definitely gets people motivated and energized, for sure.
I totally agree. I mean, I think Yang, I'm not saying like a crap load of Republicans will suddenly switch over and support him, but I think enough will break away, especially the ones that are uncomfortable with Trump.
Yeah.
But I wonder, I have a feeling those same people might stay home or just not be able to get themselves to vote for Warren because she's not the biggest unifying voice. She's not like, oh, we're going to bring the country together. She's kind of like, we're going to come after, the rich people and break up the companies and everything. And it's I think it's a message that resonates well in the Democratic primary, but I don't know how it's going to do in the general, especially with like independents who want like kind of a, less partisan approach. But I guess we will have to see, and hopefully us and our 8 other teammates will be able to raise some buku dollars for Andrew Yang so that this quarter, in my opinion, this is a quarter to raise the money. Like if we don't get into kind of like the quarterfinals equivalent, like it doesn't matter. So if we get an upset in Iowa, New Hampshire, and or South Carolina, then Super Tuesday, it's up for grabs. And hopefully all the other candidates, a lot of the other ones will have dropped off by then. And then maybe people will start thinking about who can win the general. One last thing before we wrap up. I am becoming increasingly concerned about not just how we win the White House, but how we govern after we take the White House. And like Trump probably is not going to go away quietly and be like the gentleman and like, oh, now that I'm out of office, I'm not going to say anything out of respect to the current president. He's going to be probably with us for the whole first term and more. And can you imagine if Warren's in the White House and every day he's on Twitter accusing her of stuff and getting people, he might still do rallies. Who knows? That crazy dude might run again.
Oh, yeah.
Go ahead.
He might be tied up in a lot of lawsuits. And
well, hopefully.
He's going to be busy. He may
be
flee the country. We don't know.
But, he doesn't seem like one that will willingly give up the spotlight.
He still hasn't said anything about Yang, has he?
No,
he still hasn't even mentioned him once. He's afraid, man.
He's a difficult person to go after. He doesn't really have any open wounds. Like Elizabeth Warren has, if you want to go as far as her ancestry or even down her policies, they're really easy to get at. Joe Biden, he's really easy to get at with the Hunter Biden Ukraine thing. With Bernie, he's probably going to try to call him a crazy socialist. If he sees open wounds, he goes for it. Andrew Yang really doesn't have those wounds, so there's nothing for Trump really to go after, whether it's substantive or not. There's nothing really there.
Now, I will share with you guys, when I started this channel, there were a lot of sort of negative comments on some of my early videos, and still to this day, I see some of them here and there, where the accusation is that Yang is a secret spy for China. Now, I mean, knowing that his parents came from Taiwan and like that's like the farthest thing as a mainland Chinese spy, but you know, a lot of voters may not get the nuance, and they may not realize like, oh, he was born in the United States, his parents immigrated legally, they worked, you know, his father worked for freaking IBM and GE. Like this is not the society we live in. Like some people were just quick to say like, oh yeah, he's a spy for China. Mm-hmm. Do you guys think, I mean, I could see Trump kind of fanning those flames.
You know, Trump will latch onto any conspiracy theory that he finds that he thinks will suit his motives. Mm-hmm. There is a lot of tension right now with China, so I wouldn't be surprised if that picked up a little bit of traction. But really, that's the closest thing that Andrew has to baggage is that, and the fact that he lacks, you know, experience politically, which is actually his superpower. You know, because he doesn't have all the rest of the baggage. He's not coming, you know, like trying to stand by his record from 20 years ago, like some of these people. So I don't know. I think it could play to his favor. It could hurt, but we're just gonna have to wait and find out. But I don't think that one will stand up. That one's not gonna go like full Pizzagate. You know, the whole Chinese spy thing. I don't think that really. Anybody really believes that.
I can see Trump trying that, but I think it'll come off as grasping at straws. I think people see through. Yeah. It'll make a couple headlines here and there. People would scoff at it, and then he'd have to let it go.
Do you think, John? Do you think that that Andrew should have his upstate New York birth certificate ready to go?
Oh yeah, definitely. I made a comment about that. Yeah, I had a little skirmish going with someone who thought that even though his parents, even though he was born here, the fact that his parents weren't both citizens, that he wouldn't qualify. And he was, you know, citing, you know, some legal stuff. But to me, it still seemed a weak argument, and we'll see. I mean,
yeah, I mean, if we, I think Trump's grandmother was a maid from Scotland.
Well, right. That came up in our discussion as well. Because everything centers around what naturalized born citizen means. And even though, so Trump's grandmother was Scottish, but she became a naturalized citizen when she moved here. But yeah, I mean, personally, my instinct is I think he's good to go. It's not going to cause any.
Yeah, I mean, I guess there will be some portion of the country that's hardcore nativists that want, like, you know, you have to come from like the Mayflower and shit.
Yeah.
I've always said I think for Andrew, the hardest part of the primaries, I think the general election will be actually much easier. I think the primaries are what's the most difficult for him.
Oh, yeah. I think you're right. I totally agree. It's so sad that we have to convince the Democratic Party. I think we have to do more to convince the Democratic Party than to convince the country in a weird way.
Yeah.
Right. And like, they're like latching on to Warren when all of the data suggests that she will have a hard time shaking off a lot of the accusations about her sort of background or things that she said. But moreover, you know, her hardcore position on healthcare, like I can already see Trump saying like, this woman is going to take away everybody's health insurance and force you onto a government program. That will be very scary to a lot of independents and Republicans, and maybe even some Democrats who are lucky enough to have good employee health care. And they'll be like, well, shoot, I don't know if I want to give up my you know, gold-plated Blue Cross Blue Shield plan from the company.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, if we nominate Warren and we lose and we get another 4 years of Trump, I swear, man,
I don't think there are any other surefire bets. Like Andrew is a surefire bet; he will win hands down. And the Democrats do this all the time. They're like, we need a candidate who can bring the country together, and it's which is true, but it's all rhetoric. Look at who's actually doing it. Look at who's walking the walk. Andrew's campaign is bringing people together that are hugely ideologically diverse, people from all over the spectrum, and they're getting together and they're fired up. They're pumped. This feels real, and I think that's why the other campaigns think we're like trolls and bots, because they're just like cynical, like that doesn't exist anymore. People don't believe like that anymore. People don't really come together like that. People who voted for Trump and voted for Hillary don't come together and give each other hugs. You know, like that doesn't happen. So cynical. But it's real, guys. Like the Yang Gang is real. Yangganglove is like a real thing. And like, it doesn't matter what your political background is. We're trying to move the country forward. And that is unstoppable. You cannot stop that wave.
Yeah, I think
all he needs is the exposure. That's probably the biggest hurdle. It's the more exposure, the better. If he can get the exposure, he will convince people.
Yeah, I think still around 50% of the country is not familiar with him. They don't have any opinion, and we definitely have to flip that number. Well, guys, I know we could talk for a long time, but I suspect that between now and the end of the month, we will have other Secure the Yang group discussions, because we're all trying to do the same thing. So before we wrap up, I just want to remind everybody watching, there's actually 225 concurrent viewers right now. I want to remind everybody that down in the description below, there are 12 links. You can give to anyone you want. You give the multiple, just give. And at the end of the day, we'll get Andrew on a conversation like this. Actually, it will be just like this. It'll be 4 boxes. And we'll have a chance to chat with him. But we got to get our 50K first so that he can buy some ads in Iowa. Awesome. Before we wrap up, John and Ronnie and Jenner, are there any closing thoughts you want to share, John?
I just wanted to say, I think the fire from the Yang Gang, it's really based on the fact that Andrew is just the most genuine and intelligent candidate that's come around in ages. I mean, we know it when we see it. It's just as simple as that. That's why I think if people just give him an hour of their time, they're Yang Gang. They
get yanged. Yeah. They just need to open their mind a little bit. What do you think, Jenner? Really, go ahead, John.
And really, I mean, I'm not even 100% on board on all of his policies. I mean, I still have a lot of questions and doubts and concerns, but I know he's an open.
You trust the guy,
reasonable. I trust him. Yeah, he's a reasonable person.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, I was talking to a bunch of my friends, and we were saying, which of these candidates would you want running a company that you worked at? And we were like, oh, we would definitely not want any of these. Like, we would totally work at Andrew's company, right? Like, you would definitely not work at the Trump organization. Anyway, Jenner, any final thoughts from you?
I have been seeing, I've been getting a little bit concerned among the Yang Gang, because we have to stick to the humanity first thing, guys. I know it's very hard. I know that we're getting attacked a lot. We need to not go on the offensive, not go on the defensive. Just, especially with Bernie supporters, they're getting a little bit more virulent. We need to meet that with love, as corny as that sounds. Like, humanity first. That's what it's all about, and we can't stray from that. So that's my message to the Yang Gang. Stick with that. And it's the thing that's going to win. And if you haven't listened to our Humanity First series over here at Mindwave, go to mindwave.media. And you can see all the wonderful conversations that we've had with people in the Yang Gang, and many more to come. So stay tuned, guys. And thanks for having me on. This was awesome.
Thank you, Jenner. Ronnie, what do you want to say to our audience before we wrap?
That we can do this. This can be done. And all it takes is you. If you have a candidate that matches your ideals and is striving for what you believe in, I think Andrew Yang is a once-in-a-lifetime candidate. You're not going to see many other Andrew Yangs, okay? And America is in such a disarray right now that we need this. So if you are, for humanity first, not left, not right, but forward, then support the candidate that matches your ideals. And I'm assuming for all of you watching this is Andrew Yang. And feel free to come to Read My Lips News and Politics on YouTube to talk about it more.
Right on, guys. Thank you so much. We will see you again very soon. Everybody watching, please try and give till it hurts, because this quarter is going to be a game changer for us. And if we break out this quarter, the general is in our grasp. If we don't have a solid quarter, he's not going to have enough gas in the tank to really make things happen in Iowa, New Hampshire, and South Carolina. And it's going to be super, super hard for us. So this is the time to give. If you haven't before, this quarter is the time to do it. This month today is the time to do it. And if you did give before, all you need to do is give 3 times that number, and he will raise $30 million in the fourth quarter. So think about it. And thanks everybody for watching. See you guys later.
Thanks,
Bye.
Tom.
Bye, guys.
See ya.
Bye.